Hi, this is Bill. I'm an expat living in the Philippines, and I am a prepper. So, I didn't want to do this video, but some people asked me my thoughts on this, and what's going to be my plan if the war goes nuclear, and specifically how I think it will affect the Philippines. Now, I don't want to see a nuclear war anywhere, but the reality is, times we live in today with the conflicts going on around the world, it is quite possible that what we'll end up seeing is a nuclear detonation somewhere in the world. Scary thought as it is, but this video is going to be what I think would happen here. Now, the most probable for me would be an airburst type of nuclear detonation above Manila. And there's two reasons I believe this is the most likely of any nuclear scenario, not conventional alarms, is because it will destabilize and basically cripple all of the Philippines. Okay, so everything happens out of Manila. The command and control, everything happens here. Now, an EMP burst or an airborne nuclear detonation brings different things than a ground detonation would. So, if you can see this ring and where all the devastation is I'm outside of the main issues, other than the fact that we're in a nuclear war. An EMP or airborne detonation over Manila is probably the best scenario for me if things went nuclear. I am outside of the rings, and my chance of survival is really good. A ground detonation, which is a nuclear missile that strikes and hits the ground in Manila, is worse because it will actually generate a lot of fallout. And this is due to the debris and everything that's blasted and blown up into the atmosphere and air. The prevailing winds indicate that I should still be okay. However, winds change, right? Storms could be coming in from any directions at any time. And the fallout has a long legs, which if you look at the map means to say that it covers a large area, and it could definitely impact where I live depending on the winds and the rain and everything else that is going on. Now, this is assuming it's a Dongfeng Chinese-made missile. I can't see anyone else bothering to strike the Philippines for any particular reason other than to destabilize what we have going on here with our cooperation and help that we give the United States. So the loss of service is going to probably be my first indicator of a strike. Power will flicker and or stop, or internet service will become flaky or stop. But these are going to be the things that tell me out in the province that somewhere. So the thing I have to always think about is when my power goes out, is it the neighborhood? Is it the city? What's going on? Now, I have no idea. I'm not a scientist, and everything I'm telling you is just what I've gleaned off the internet and stuff. But I would think that even as far away as I am, I would either hear or feel some sound blast, sound wave, some concussion from an impact in Manila. I'm far enough away, but I still would believe that I would feel this. So, the first thing I try to do is, visually look. And, granted, the flash is going to be the first thing that would go by. And I'm not too concerned about that. I'm honestly thinking I'm not too concerned about the sound wave in the pressure blast because it's not going to be that close to me. And there is a mountain range between me and Manila. However, I could see what's going on. And I'm telling you, this is the most probable, if things went nuclear, in my opinion, of what would happen. And I don't want to see this happen, but I have to plan and prepare for this. So as a prepper, and with today's times, I am constantly looking at what use case scenarios do I need to prepare for, and the probability of a nuclear attack on the Philippines in the event of a nuclear war is very valid. So with that in mind and the tinfoil hat wrapped around my head, I'm still going to do everything I can to take care of my family. The other scenario I see, which may happen in tandem, would be a strike on the Subic Naval Base, because the U.S. will be having more naval ships there, and we're going to be using that as a staging ground for any potential conflict with China over Taiwan or in a full-blown World War III situation. Now, if that was the case, if it was only targeting Olongapo in the Subic Bay area, then the initial blast, if it's an airborne blast, might not even affect me as an EMP goes. It might be far enough away that services are still up, and I'm finding out about this over the internet or the radio or some other means. So an EMP or airborne detonation above Subic Bay only is certainly survivable by me. Okay. Now the thing that I fear, and I'll show you here, is a ground detonation has the same problem. Even though the initial blast may be far enough away from my location, the fallout potential because of the blast putting all these particulates into the air and atmosphere will definitely affect me, right? And again, this all depends on the prevailing winds. So when I look at these kind of two scenarios, these are the only two things I could see a nuclear event happening in the Philippines. Now, I don't want to see this, and I've talked about this twice already in this video, but I am preparing for this kind of situation. Now, I'm not doing a whole lot of stuff, and I'll get into what I'm doing in the video towards the end here. But a lot of the stuff I want you to consider is it has to do with the location of any attack. Now, regardless of any nuclear device going off anywhere on the planet, the first thing I'm going to do is try to get and find my shelter, right? So if a nuclear war started in Ukraine, it would escalate so quickly or not. It's either going to not escalate or it's going to absolutely escalate. So I'm going to find shelter, and my shelter is my bug-in site, right? So this is where I'm at. So shelter should always be something that are below ground if possible, or at least a building, and you try to get into the center or the back of the building, and you want to try to get into your shelter within the first hour of any detonation going off, presumably quicker if you can, right? So if I was out at the market and this happened, I would stop what I'm doing, I would gather my friends, family, and get them into my site right away. And one of the first things I would start doing in this very first hour is I would start sealing up my site, right? So even if there's a nuclear fallout coming, and let's say my windows aren't broken from an initial blast, I want to make sure that I'm detecting any nuclear fallout in my area, but I'm mainly preventing it from coming into my property, turning off the air cons, using plastic tarp and tape and sealing all my entries, creating my decontamination point from my gates, and making sure that I'm safe. When you're talking about radiation, it can stick to your clothing and everything, but the first hour is so key, and then the first 24 hours is really where you want to be, not moving around, not outside. You know, and then if you can make it 48 hours to 3 days and you're doing okay, then that's where you're in good shape. Now, potassium iodine, which I have, should be taken, you know, with caution. In the dosage are recommended here, but I do have that, and it should be taken within the first hour of any nuclear detonation that happens. Now, keep in mind that, you know, it's not necessary if it's a nuclear war going somewhere else, but in the first 24 hours, you want to pay attention to what your radiation levels are and how close you are to any nuclear detonation. Now, I think it wouldn't hurt me to take one as soon as one goes off anywhere in the world and prep my thyroid. But follow the medication charts, follow the things that are given. Once you're inside your location in the first 24 hours and you have it sealed up and you have all your things up and running, you got all your family here, you need to make sure that anybody that's arriving late, you need to know where they came from, and you want to make sure that, you know, they change their clothes and they take a shower and they use soap and shampoo, well, not shampoo, but they use soap, and they get all of any particular radiation off of them before you let them in. Now keep in mind that the fallout, if it's ground detonation, or if it happens somewhere else but the wind's blowing fallout your direction, is airborne, right? So it's going to cover and coat everything. So you want to make sure when you go out, your clothes are being cleaned, decontaminated, you're not breathing direct, you have your gas mask or your N95 or whatever protection you have to keep you from breathing this fallout. anything you scavenge, loot, or find outside needs to be decontaminated before you brought in. And remember, I have preps. I don't need to scavenge. I can lock down and stay in my site for 90 days, even full of friends and family. So I will give the radiation time to dissipate, for lack of a better word. But not everyone can do this. Now the thing is when it's all said and done, you're 90 days into an event, the world is totally different than what you thought it was going to be. Mad Max didn't prepare you for any realities. But you can survive. If you made it the first 90 days and you didn't get radiation sickness, or you didn't get hurt or burned or any of these kind of things, and you're prepared like I am, you can start looking at what's next. What do we do now? All right, you're going to have to start, dealing with gangs and roving people, and you're going to have to start dealing with how to get crops and food going when you have contaminated soil, and where's your water coming from. You have a lot of things you have to do, but it's much more survivable after the first 90 days. Is it the end of the world? Well, as far as we know it, it would definitely not be nice, but it's not the end of the world. Now, it might be a human extinction event, but I can only prepare so far. So all I'm trying to say, guys, is this is my plan. If I think there's going to be a nuclear detonation in the Philippines, it's going to happen in Manila or Subic, and it's going to be either airborne EMP type or ground detonation. I think I'm ready. I have all the preps I need to seal up my site, and I hope you guys do too. And if you like this kind of content or you have any comments, please drop them down below. Thank you very much.